Mr. Durlacher, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in the matter now pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may have a seat. And if you could please introduce yourself to the jury.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Erich Durlacher.
Mr. Durlacher, what is it that you do for a living?
I'm a lawyer.
Where are you a lawyer?
I'm a lawyer with Burr Foreman.
What kind of law is that?
We're a full-service commercial law firm with offices throughout the Southeast.
How long have you been with Burr Foreman?
25 years.
Did you have the opportunity to know Gary Farris?
I did. I worked with Gary. Gary Farris hired me at Burr Foreman.
When was that?
I started March 1st, 1999.
And do you work here in the Atlanta office or somewhere else?
I work in the Atlanta office.
Mr. Durlacher, could you please tell the jury when you first heard about Mr. Farris's remains being discovered?
Sure. It was July 5th. I was at work and I heard the news from Angela Phillips, who works in my office. She was upset, and myself and another attorney in my office took her into a conference room to talk to her, and that's when we heard that Gary's body was found on the burn pile.
Can you tell the jury about your relationship with Gary?
Sure. We were friends. We were co-workers. Like I said, he hired me. He trained me. So we worked closely together for a number of years, and I owe a lot to who I am as a lawyer to Gary.
Would you all share personal information about your families to each other?
Small talk. We would talk about our families, what's going on with kids. My kids were younger than his, so he could be a source of wisdom, having gone through it before. But that was about it.
Can you tell the jury, please, about when you found out that Gary was in fact murdered?
It was sometime after July 5th. I can't remember the exact date, but I can remember it was in the context of that a bullet had been found in his rib.
Who was it that told you that information, that relayed that to you?
I can't remember who exactly told me that.
Was it someone from the family or somebody else, like law enforcement?
Just going back, I can't remember if it was someone from the family or law enforcement. I talked to both a good bit during those early days.
Who did you communicate with from the family?
Around that, what I'll call early to mid-July period, I had a number of conversations with Melody Farris, and then I had one conversation with Amanda Farris.
Tell the jury about your conversations with Melody Farris during that time in July.
Sure. We had an early conversation. Melody, in fact, might have reached out to me as returning a phone call that I had placed just to see how everything was going. I'm just trying to think of exactly what we discussed, but it was whether they had heard anything about Gary, what was going on. And like I said, it was, I think that day, later that day, that she and I spoke, and confirmation that Gary was found on the burn pile. And she also offered that there was no foul play involved.
When was that phone? Do you recall what date that phone call was?
Yes, that was later in the day, on July 5th. I had spoken with Angela around midday, around noon. She had gotten the news from, I believe, from Amanda. And then later in the day is when I spoke with Melody.
Did you know anything about Gary's spells?
Yes, I knew some about those.
Did most of the people in the office generally know that he would have those moments?
A number of us did, yes.
Did you ever see him have one of those?
Not personally where I saw the spell as if you were to have one right now, but I was around when he was in his office. I knew he was laying down because he was having one.
And did you have a subsequent conversation with Miss Farris after that call on the 5th?
We had a few conversations. We had that first one on the 5th and a few after that. Police were at the house looking through things, had taken the phones. Once she had called me from a neighbor's house. I believe I even supplied her with the name of a criminal lawyer as well.
What was your relationship like with Melody Farris during this time?
Fine, I would say cordial. We didn't spend a lot of time with each other, but we would see one another at firm events from time to time.
Did she ask you any questions about Gary's finances or documents in the office or anything of that nature?
It came up in one of the calls in the context of she did not want anyone to come in to take papers or to go through any affairs, that she was reluctant to have Emily Farris or her husband come in and to do anything, so that her preference was that we wouldn't let anyone into the office.
That's something she expressed to you over one of the phone calls.
Correct.
Did she volunteer information about her whereabouts from the 4th or the 5th?
Yes. She had told me that they were at the lake, I believe all day on the 4th, that they hadn't gotten back until late, didn't think about seeing where Gary was until the next morning when the grandkids were asking where Big Daddy was, but she told me that's what the grandkids called Gary. And it was at that point that they realized he wasn't in the house, and that Chris and Scott went looking to try to find him. His phone and his keys were in the house, so they weren't sure where he was.
After the days following finding Mr. Farris's remains, did you speak with law enforcement as well?
I did.
And did law enforcement ever come to the office and gather documents from the office? Did your firm provide documents as well?
Yes, they came to the office. We met with them. We showed them where the office was. They requested certain documents from us, which we had our IT group help to download from the computer that could be sent to them.
At this time, Judge State would move to tender State's Exhibits Durlacher 1, 2, and 3.
No objection.
All right, good amendment.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor? Mr. Durlacher, if you could please review these. I'm going to pull them up on the computer. Okay, I'm pulling up Durlacher 1. What is it that we are looking at here in State's Exhibit Durlacher 1?
It's a stack of papers that's entitled Current Elections and Beneficiary Designations. And when I turn the page, looks like the type of information that we have to fill out on an annual basis for enrollment in our benefit plans.
Benefit plans?
Yes, ma'am.
And are these Mr. Farris's benefit plans?
It says so. It says Benefit Plan Enrollment, Gary W. Farris.
Okay, and these came from your office. Is that accurate?
Yes, I had requested these from HR.
And so these are benefits that Mr. Farris elected himself into.
That's correct. We have a pretty robust benefit plan at our law firm, and so you can buy additional or you get a certain baseline, and then you have to fill out some information such as beneficiary designations.
And do the partners get additional options for benefits?
There's some additional life insurance that you can purchase. That's correct, both in terms of life, accidental death and disability, and long-term disability.
And does it appear that Mr. Farris elected into basic term life, accidental death and policy?
It does appear he paid the premium to opt into the optional accidental death and disability, and as well as the buy-up for the life insurance policy.
Okay. And then he also, it appears that he signed up for an optional accidental death at
Correct.
the bottom. This next page appears to be the beneficiaries of Mr. Farris's policies.
Yes, that's what it looks like.
Okay, and who is that beneficiary?
It appears there's one current beneficiary, and it's Melody Farris for 100% of the primary percentage.
This appears to be a summary of some sort for the previous year, maybe.
It appears so. It looked like the prior page was the 2017 coverage. Looks like this page that you're scrolling through is the 2018 benefits coverage.
Okay. So you have to re-enroll into these benefits every year.
That is correct. I think it's in January, but once a year you have to re-up, even if you just want to keep the same coverage or to change it.
And that's typically what people call open enrollment period.
That's exactly right.
And everybody does it at the last minute.
Correct.
Okay. Go to. It appears that did your firm do the highlighting for the current information?
That I don't know.
Okay. This appears to be when Melody Farris was added as beneficiary in 2012. And then, so primary beneficiaries here under the profit sharing. Now, what is the profit sharing?
Sure. As a partner in the firm, we're all enrolled in the profit sharing plan where a percentage of the profits are put into the plan. And you can also go up to a statutory maximum each year with your own dollars, but regardless of whether you make contributions, so much of the profit of the firm will be put in on a quarterly basis for the benefit of all the partners.
And this states that the beneficiary effective date was April 10th, 2018, and it was Melody Farris. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Now I'm going to open Durlacher 3, which is sort of a nice little summary of what we were just looking at. This was provided by your firm as well.
That is correct.
And this breaks it down through your carrier of Lincoln Financial, and it appears to be Gary Farris's enrollment for each term life, accidental death, equity partner, the buy-up, and the optional. Is that true? Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. So that just says how much each coverage is, and then this is a separate one down here. Is that accurate?
That's the profit sharing plan, and our custodian of record is Empower.
Okay. And so Melody appears to be the beneficiary of all of those as well.
That is correct.
Okay. Can you describe Mr. Farris's work ethic with the firm?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Gary had a sterling reputation in the legal community. I don't know if you've heard this already, but he practiced in an area that's called commercial real estate and worked with a lot of banks and financial institutions. He was incredibly intelligent, responsive, and very practical minded at the same time, which is always a unique combination of skills in a lawyer.
Would the individuals in your firm often work on holidays?
Yes.
Was he fairly prompt with responding to emails?
Absolutely. To be a good lawyer, you have to be prompt in responding to clients.
I want to go back to these numbers here and the amount of coverage. So for the term life, it appears to be $500,000. Then the accidental death, the group accidental death is another $500,000. The life equity partners, $400,000. So we're at $1.4 million. And then the buy-up is another $300,000, so that's 1.7. And then the optional accidental death is another 500. So that would be 2.2.
That's right. It looks about it to be $1 million of accidental death and disability. And then in terms of life insurance, it's, what would that be? 1.2.
That's all I have for you, Mr. Durlacher. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Mr. Durlacher. My name's John Luke Weaver, and I represent Melody. I want to go back and talk to you briefly. Okay, right here, this highlighted portion, we're talking about something in 2012, and it looks like we've moved Ms. Farris from a contingent to a primary. Is that what that means?
That's what it says, yes.
Okay, so that means prior to that, she was not the primary beneficiary of any of his life insurance.
She would be a contingent beneficiary, which means if something were to happen, if one of the primary beneficiaries were pre-deceased, then the residual would go to the contingent beneficiary.
Did you have records, or did you know who was the primary prior to Melody becoming the primary in 2012?
I would assume our HR people have that, but
Okay.
I don't know that.
You don't know. But we do know that as of 2012, she was moved from the contingent to the primary.
That's what this appears to show, yes, sir.
Okay. And I know the jury's loving hearing about all these numbers, but I've got one more question and I will sit down. Can you explain to me how the profit sharing system at Burr Foreman worked, and what was Gary's percentage? We've never known.
Well, let's see if I can explain it. Yes, each year you can contribute so much of your own money. I don't know in this time period, but maybe it was up to, let's say, $15,000, and then if you were 50, you can do a catch-up every year of maybe an additional $5,000. And Congress sets that amount, and it goes up each year. But then separate and apart from that, the firm will put so much money into the profit-sharing plan, pretty much an equal amount for all partners. So, for example, my firm just made the third quarter profit-sharing plan contribution. Today I got an email, and it would have everyone's name, and it would show the amount put in on a quarterly basis, and it's the same for each equity partner in the firm.
So they get every equity partner gets the same amount.
That is correct. And then on top of that, an equity partner can make an individual decision whether they want to contribute some of their own money on a pre-tax basis.
Okay, that's all I have.
I have no more questions.
All right, you sit down. Thank you, sir.
Should I leave the exhibits here or hand them back?
You can give them to Miss Frankie.
I'll take them. Thank you.